How's it going? So I'm Mike, and it is so nice to meet all of you. And thank you so much for coming out to see me and my fellow speakers. It means so much to me. Today I'm going to talk about the power of being a superhero and how it has improved my life and the lives of those around me. And so what is a superhero? Some traits that come to my mind are a superhero takes action, a superhero is good to others, a superhero uses their abilities to help others, and a superhero does the right thing. And what are some traits that you can think of? I'd love to hear from you. My core definition of a superhero is that a superhero helps people. And when I'm talking about helping people, I don't mean that you have to donate your life savings. But even just saying hi to somebody or holding the door open for somebody can make a huge difference in their day. The other day, I was walking into the supermarket and I offered to return the cart for a lady. And I couldn't believe how happy she became. She was just absolutely beaming with gratitude and happiness. And what work was I doing? I was going that way anyway. And so it's more a shift of mindset than any actual work. And the focus is just being on good to others and ourselves. And so I would just like to ask you, is there anything more important than being good to others and ourselves? And so let me just ask that one more time. Is there anything more important than being good to others and ourselves? And there are so many benefits to being a superhero that I could do an entire talk on all the benefits. And psychologists have known for years that one of the best ways to make yourself happy is by helping other people. And interestingly enough, a lot of the benefits of being a superhero actually align with the healthy versions of different psychological models, like Maslow, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, spiral dynamics, and I'm discovering more and more all the time. My favorite benefit of being a superhero is that every day I get to wake up knowing that I'm making a positive difference in the world. A wise man once told me that superheroes represent our best selves and can be a tool to discover who our best self is. And so let me just say that one more time. Superheroes represent our best selves and can be a tool to discover who our best self is. And so there's a lot to unpack there. But let's save that for another time because I want to get to the really fun stuff, which is the stories. And so several years ago, I was hired as a media teacher for grades K through 5 at a local elementary school on the very poor side of town. Those kids had come from really rough backgrounds, and many of them were really struggling academically. And to make things even more challenging, I found out that the previous teacher had actually been murdered. And many of the kids knew about it. And so I asked myself, how am I going to be able to connect with these kids, especially since it's every single kid in the entire school? I had recently come across the Socrates quote that education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. That helped me to realize that even if I taught the kids every single thing that I knew, that was nothing compared to if I got them excited to learn the content on their own. And so I had used the concept of the superhero to connect with students in the past. And so I wondered, could the concept of the superhero actually be powerful enough to not only connect with all of them, but to ignite all their flames? And so then the first day of school rolled around and the kids came in and sat down. Many moved to the back of their seats, crossed their arms, and had frowns on their faces. And so I went around and asked each kid, what is your superpower? Instantly, I saw their eyes light up. They shot to the edge of their seats and their arms shot in the air in excitement to tell me all about their superpowers. I had them write stories about themselves as superheroes so that they could learn Google Docs, and animations with Google Slides, pictures with Windows Paint. And those kids created so much that I had to scrap my idea of doing a digital school magazine because the file size would have been too massive. And so instead, I had them do portfolio websites. I had 2 fifth graders that wrote over 40 pages worth of stories in just a few months. And I found out that many of those kids were actually working on their projects outside of school and that they were going to the library because they didn't have a home computer. And how incredible is that? And what work did I do besides just asking them a question, listening to them, and helping to fan their flames? And so I found that question, what is your superpower, to be just as powerful with adults. My dad and I had never really seen eye to eye, and it made me sad that we weren't closer. And so I wondered, maybe no one had ever talked to him about his real life superpowers before. And so I invited him onto my YouTube show to talk to him about his real life superpowers. And incredibly, he said yes. He told me that he only wanted to stay on for a half hour, and I agreed. And so when we reached the half-hour mark, he wanted to keep going. And we ended up talking for over an hour. Connecting with my father like that for possibly the first time was so overwhelming that I ended up passing out for hours after the show. And so much repressed energy had been released that I had trouble sleeping for weeks after. And I talked to my mom, and she said that it seemed like a huge burden had been lifted off my dad, and that he was a lot happier. And she also said that he kept saying over and over again, Mike is changing people's lives. And now we do weekly Zoom conversations, and his eyes are beaming. It was so amazing to me that just talking to him about his superpowers was able to have such an impact on his way of thinking. And now he's actually even trying to help me find people for my show. And so, what are your superpowers? What are some things that you're good at? Write them down. If you need help, ask somebody. And I love helping people find their superpowers, so if you ever think that you don't have any, I will find them. I'm an expert. I have helped find it for thousands of people. And I think that question, what is your superpower, is such a valuable tool for self-discovery, self-awareness, and finding your value. And just finding my value alone has been so incredible. No longer do I worry about being validated by other people and needing to perform. And it's made life so much easier to not worry about, what people think of me, whether they like me or not, because ultimately I can't control that. And so I find that helping people is a great way to discover your superpowers, and it's helped me discover mine. And some of the superpowers are facilitation, being good with kids, patience, listening. And some people have told me that my superpower is being kind or caring, and I'm not always so sure about that, but I appreciate it, and I do really wish everyone has a happy and healthy life, and especially kids, because I think every kid deserves to have a good childhood, and that the world would be a much nicer place if that was the case. So now I'd like to talk about how we can be a superhero. And so I'll share with you some of my favorite ways. And I will start with listening and just being in someone's corner. And so when I was teaching, I had a boy that was put into my after-school program that was known to have a really bad temper. When he would get upset, I'd pull him aside and ask him what was wrong. And just listening to him seemed to make such a huge difference in his life. I made the students an offer that I would include them in my superhero stories if they wrote stories. That boy wrote so many stories that I couldn't keep up. And so I wrote him letters telling him how proud I was of him and all the great work that he was doing. And so that Thanksgiving, his family invited me over. And when I arrived, the boy showed me his room, and my letters were taped on his wall. I can't put into words what an incredible feeling that was to see those letters on that wall, and I still don't fully comprehend it. Later that year, another boy actually punched him in the face, but the boy didn't hit him back. He certainly wasn't happy about it, but he was able to have restraint. And how incredible is that? What work did I do besides just being in his corner and listening to him? can you imagine how different his interactions with people will be now versus what they would have been? And so now I'm going to tell you my absolute favorite way to be a superhero. And you might have already guessed it, but it is simply saying hi to people. And I love it so much because it is so simple, but so incredibly powerful. I've seen it change so many people's days in such a positive way. And so why do you guys think that saying hi to people is so powerful? Makes them happy.
You see them.
Yeah,
You recognize who they are.
absolutely. And how does it make you feel when someone says hi to you? How does that change your day?
You smile.
Smile, yeah. And can you imagine if you went to the supermarket and everyone said hi to you? You would feel like one of the Beatles. And I had that experience when I was working at elementary schools, and I can tell you, it felt amazing. Seeing those kids fall over themselves just to say hi to me was, I don't know anything more heartwarming. And sometimes people won't say hi back to you, but is that a reflection of you or a reflection of them? And you never know what someone is going through. Someone might not have ever said hi to them before, and they don't know how to react. You never know what kind of changes that just saying hi could impact. And so I think the key is to not have expectations, and that not having expectations could be the greatest superpower of all. So now I'd like to share with you the most powerful hi experience I ever had. And so I was being wheeled through the ER with appendicitis, and I was in incredible pain. But I really wanted to say hi to everyone anyway, because everyone, I guess that's kind of how I am. And everyone looks so somber and, just kind of, not like they weren't enjoying life. And so I was like, I'm getting wheeled through just saying hi to everybody, It's just like kind of like the mobile hello. And maybe that's what I need too in my everyday life, just wheel me around and I can wave at everybody. And so as they're wheeling me through the ER, I saw the most broken human being I have ever seen in my life. Her body was slumped over itself, and she just looked completely lifeless. She looked to be around 20 years old, and both her legs were amputated below the knee. I said hi to her, and it seemed like she just came alive. She raised up and looked at me, and it was like we had a moment of pure seeing each other and connection. Unfortunately, I was quickly wheeled by, and I never got to see her again. I asked my doctor to please give her my contact information because I want to do anything I possibly can to help her, but unfortunately, they couldn't because of HIPAA. Ma'am, if you are watching this talk, I would love to hear how you're doing. I am always wishing you the best, and I am in your corner. And so I am so excited to have been able to share with you all a taste of the power of the superhero, because my favorite thing of all is when we can all come together and combine our superpowers. And isn't that what this conference is all about? Coming together as superheroes to improve ourselves and improve the lives of others. And even with my talk, I had so much help from so many incredible individuals that I can't thank enough. And after all, when we come together and combine our superpowers, there's almost nothing we can't accomplish. Because after all, it wasn't one person that put a man on the moon. Before I go, I think it's really important to mention that being good to yourself is just as important as being good to others. And I think that being good to others is a great way to learn how to be good to yourself. And I would love to talk about all of that. But let's say that for the next time we speak. Please remember that I am always in your corner, and I'm always rooting for you. I hope you have the best every day ever. And if you have a chance during a break, please say hi to your neighbors. Thank you so much.